Thank you all for coming, especially on this cold, blustery night. So it's a great honor and privilege to represent the City of Gillett as mayor and deliver my first State of the City address. Tonight I'd like to take a brief look back at 2010 and a look ahead and laying out a plan for the City of Gillett. The decision we make in 2011 and the decisions we made in 2010 are the first steps in creating the needed momentum to form a vision for our future. 2010 was a year of transition. With the majority of the current City Council being elected in April, there was a lot of work to be done. We are still in that transition. The transition from reactive actions to proactive actions, and we are progressing well. In 2010, we took a deep look at the organization and the structure of the city and made necessary changes and additions to further advance the city. We took a look at all the city's past projects and prioritized these projects in an effort to bring them to completion. There are some projects that we had to postpone because of the financial situation of the city, and others that we have no choice but to follow through with based on state statutes, or state mandates, I'm sorry. Our Parks and Cemetery Committee, in conjunction with the Public Works Committee, wanted to resurface East Park Street, which goes through Zippel Park, and pave the gravel parking areas that are near Mackenzie Avenue and to the east of the 4-H and beer stands. In reviewing the financial situation of the city, we decided to postpone that project until a complete review of the city's accounts could be done. For many years, the City of Gillett has been trying to accomplish the development of a skateboard park, and has gotten it as far as pouring a concrete foundation, and the city installed a fence around the perimeter of the concrete. Since the skateboard park was built about 2 years ago, we have been trying to drum up community support to raise monies for various equipment such as ramps and obstacles for skateboarders. We have placed ads in the local paper, had Pat's Market stuff flyers and grocery bags, and posted flyers throughout the city requesting volunteer support to sit on a committee that would raise the necessary funds. We have had 2 different committees in place over the years, and neither was able to continue the support that was necessary for the completion of the project. Our last request for support was unanswered with the exception of Gillett Cement offering a couple of nice benches. We placed the benches in the park, and within weeks the kids were nailing boards to them trying to create makeshift ramps. We had one child injured in the skate park, and that was when the city locked the gate and began rethinking the idea. The most recent development in regards to the skateboard park is to convert it into a synthetic ice skating rink. We've had comments stating that people from outside the community would come to Gillett just to skate. The Parks Committee has met and thinks it would be a good idea to place the synthetic ice where the skateboard park is. They concluded that it would be more of a family facility and not catered to such a small demographic. We've received estimates in the neighborhood of $70,000 to purchase enough of the material to cover the concrete slab that is in the park. Once in place, the synthetic ice skating rink would be usable all year round, even in the summer. We began looking for funding sources for this project, and while in its infancy, I believe that we can see this project through to completion. The Public Works Department had Tim Christensen applied for and received a $27,000 energy efficiency and conservation block grant, which allowed the city to replace all the lighting in all the city buildings, including City Hall, the Gillett Public Library, the Fire Department, and the New Beginnings building. The old lighting was replaced with energy efficient lighting that will save the city more than $15,000 this year alone. Chief Gary Pembridge applied for and received a $195,377 COPS grant from the U.S. Department of Justice, which has allowed the city to add an additional full-time officer. This additional officer has helped the City of Gillett Police Department fill gaps in coverage, put in place a school liaison officer, and promote community policing efforts within the city. In addition to the COPS grant, Chief Pembridge has created a cadet program in which cadets that are obtaining their law enforcement education will work on various projects throughout the city. One example of the projects is the creation of a city map that will display all street signs, parking regulation areas, and and other pertinent items as required by the state of Wisconsin. Chief Pembridge has also begun the process of implementing a joint municipal court system, which will allow surrounding townships to join our court system. Currently, townships have not had the ability to enforce their local ordinance and have in some circumstances decided against passing necessary ordinances because of the lack of the ability to enforce those ordinances. By joining a joint municipal court system, they have the ability to issue ordinance violations and have them tried in Gillett by our court system. This will create a small revenue stream for Gillett, which will more than offset any additional expenses incurred by the city. Presently, there are 5 townships, the town of Gillett, Underhill, Mountain, Riverview, and Green Valley, that have requested to join our court system. This is a great program for all parties involved and is a great step in pooling local resources to benefit each other. The Utility Committee has had a very busy year with $376,000 of repairs and maintenance to various components of the water system. Over the summer, the water tower was painted. The $166,000 project was necessary to avoid any possibility of the tower rusting and that rust being introduced into the water system. It is required periodically that the water tower be inspected, and it must pass the inspection. The average life of the interior paint job is between 15 and 18 years, and the tower has never been repainted since it was built more than 20 years ago. The water tower received a fresh coat of paint both inside and out, and a new exterior look with the addition of new lettering and pinstripes. After an inspection of the reservoir on East Washington Street, it was determined that it was in the best interest of the city to replace the reservoir rather than attempt to repair it. The cost of the replacement of the reservoir was $150,000. In addition to the reservoir replacement, the Utility Committee approved the needed rehab of well number 2 with a cost of $47,500 as well as a $12,500 booster pump. The Utility Committee is continuing to work on the renovation of the wastewater treatment plant. Because of tighter DNR regulations, the utility is currently looking to install a recirculating gravel filtration plant to meet the current and ever-changing future water standards. The utility has been investigating the most cost-effective plan for the upcoming project. In 2008, the utility began raising sewer rates in yearly increments rather than a one-time rate increase. The next sewer rate increase will begin this year, with another increase will begin in January of 2012 to help the upcoming funding of the project. A $12 increase per sewer user per month will take effect starting February of 2011. Department Head Ron Anderson has been working diligently with the engineers to find the most cost-effective way to complete this project. Ron Anderson was also able to attain a $5,000 energy grant from the O'Connell Electric Cooperative for the wastewater treatment plant project. Another major project that the utility faces is the current water and sewer infrastructure that is ran below our city streets. This more than 80-year-old system is more than 30 years past its life expectancy. We are mandated by the DNR to replace all the 4-inch water lines in the city by the end of 2012. The streets that still have 4-inch water lines are North and South Civil and Armstrong Streets. The Utility Committee, along with the Public Works Committee, continues to collaborate on the process to find funding and effectively work together to see these large projects through to its completion. The Planning Committee, along with Ryan Meunier and Omni Associates, is continuing work on the Econowash property. The city received a $100,000 grant to raise the former Econowash building and remediate the land. There is a 20% match that's required by the city, and it is the intentions of the city to invest the 20% in a temporary green space until the use of the land is structured. The Community Development Authority, along with Ron Fifield, has begun a facility plan for a proposed Gillett Mall that would be located at this location. This is in the very early stages, and it has been proposed to be a 3-story building with the top story being set up for a cafe-style business that would have a walkout deck. The lower 2 floors would have movable walls throughout, which would allow there to be between 2 and 12 different businesses at the location. A final draft of the new city sign ordinance is near completion, and the planning committee will be scheduling a public hearing in the near future to allow city residents and businesses to review the ordinance in its entirety. The planning committee held many meetings specifically to create the sign ordinance. The ordinance will allow the city to monitor activity, prevent non-compliant signs from being displayed, and help the city to enforce removal of signs when events are completed and when businesses are no longer in operation. Careful consideration of business and organization needs and expense, as well as the appearance of the city, was a top priority during the development of this ordinance. Currently, the city has 13 parcels that it owns that we're looking to sell. We have 6 lots and 1 outlot remaining in the Ridgewood subdivision. 2 lots that are connected, which are located at 303 East Main Street and North Zippel Avenue, and a parcel located on Railroad Street behind New Beginnings, and 3 outlots located in the industrial park. There's no reason for the city to continue to own these properties, and the city would benefit by getting these properties back on the tax roll. On January 5th, I attended the County Law Enforcement and Judiciary Committee meeting to discuss the possibility of the county's new law enforcement center being located in the city. I listened to and reviewed the needs, of the county in regards to land and services. On January 6th, the City Council met, and I presented the information I obtained. The county is not looking to add any jobs with this new facility. When we took into the consideration the expense the city would incur by locating the needed land, purchasing it, basically gifting it to the property to the county, and running the needed infrastructure to the location, we decided that it was not in the best interest of the taxpayers to submit a proposal, because there would be no tax revenue and no additional employment created. While we were extremely interested in the law enforcement center being located in the city, we just could not justify it at the expense of the city taxpayers. The Finance Committee, along with the Clerk Treasurer's Office, has been working diligently to get the city finances in order. When I came into office in April of last year, I asked what I thought would be very simple questions to answer. What is the balance of the various city checking or various city accounts? What is the borrowing capacity of the city? How much borrowing capacity does the city have available? What debts does the city have? To my surprise, these questions could not be answered. Since 2006, the city auditors have been doing the city's bank reconciliations because it wasn't done by the city staff. Quoting from the management letter from our auditors, as a result, we noted numerous financial transactions that were not properly recorded in the city's financial accounting system. As of October 10, 2010, again, no reconciliations were done. I am happy to say that as of this date, all city accounts are fully reconciled and up to date. Last year alone, the city of Gillett spent over $30,000 to have the city books audited. In a meeting in September with the auditors, I asked, what is the cost of a typical audit for a city of this size? The answer was between $6,000 and $10,000. That is $20,000 worth of services that the taxpayers paid for that should have been done by the city at the city level in normal operating conditions. While preparing the 2011 budget, a $51,895 error was recognized on the 2010 budget. This error occurred after the first erroneous tax bills were sent out that everyone was told to discard. When the city realized that the first error had occurred, they changed the initial property tax figure of over $500,000, which was the original tax levy that was sent to the county and what created the first set of wrong tax bills, down to $324,635.40. It is assumed that they came to that figure because they wanted to keep the mill rate the same as 2009. What they failed to realize is when they adjusted the tax levy, they also needed to adjust the tax increment figure as well. They did not do that, and it remained budgeted at $89,967.50. The tax increment is calculated off the tax levy, so when the city levied $324,600